Hello. My name is Nakia. Welcome to my channel. This is a late end of the year wrap up. I know I am just now wrapping up November, December. Sorry, the end of the year was busy. So yeah, I have 12 books to tell you about. We got a lot to cover. I have some audiobooks that I've done and even a podcast I threw in there. Of course, some DNFs. I wouldn't be me without them. So let's just get into it because like I said, we got a lot to talk about. Okay, so I'm probably going to be a little bit brief with a lot of these because I've talked about them in other videos, including my best books of 2022 video. I did a tier ranking all the books I DNF'd in 2022 videos. So there aren't many on here that I need to go too deep into. You can check those videos for more information. But starting off with the month of November, like I said, I'm a little late with this, but I'm going to go over all the books I talked about in my end of the year TBR video. If you have not seen it, check it out. But starting off, I talked about The Nurse's Secret by Amanda Skenendorf. Now, if you have not seen my best books of 2022 video, spoiler, this book was in my top 5 of the year, but very briefly because I went into it a little bit more in that video. But we are following a woman named Una who is a pickpocket and a thief, and this is a historical fiction thriller mystery book. So this book takes place in the late 1800s, and as I said, we're following the main character Una, and one day she gets into some trouble. I'll just say that because like I said, I went into more detail in that best books video. But she ends up at the scene of a crime. There is a body, someone's been murdered, and because she's there with the body, she is a suspect. So she goes on the run and she has to figure out what she can do with herself to hide until she can solve this mystery of who killed this person and clear her name. So she sees an ad in a paper for a nursing school. Now, the school that she goes to and applies to is Bellevue, but it's based on the first nursing school that was opened in the United States. So that was also very fascinating in this book. If you are into medical stuff, procedures, old school ways they did things, I certainly am. You will find this fascinating just as I did. But so she finagles her way into this nursing school to hide out, and along the way she is also learning things because she's a student now. And while she's there, 2 more bodies turn up. So now she's thinking she's dealing with a serial killer. So once again, this killer seems to be at this nursing school. So she has a mystery to solve, as I said, and to try to clear her name. This book, I would say, is like medium paced to fast paced. I mean, I was just so invested and just kept flipping pages. I love following criminals, more particularly thieves, you know, bank robbers, those kind of things. I don't know. It's just so fascinating to me. I even love those kind of heist type of movies. But yeah, so it was just so fascinating with learning how she did things. She talks about the rules that she has to follow to do her crimes, and she has no qualms about the crimes that she's committing. She is fine with doing them. It's what she likes to do. But of course, you know, she's going to learn some lessons along the way and make some friends at this nursing school. A little romance even crept in, which did not bother me because this was old school romance. You know, when we're dealing with the Victorian era, you know, things went very slowly. It was a courtship. I did not mind it. I was kind of like, what is the deal with you and this dude? You just met him, but I was still on board because I was a fan of his. So anyway, you know, this is also a chance for you to guess who the killer is. There's that part of it too. And as I said, you will learn things about medical procedures and things from the late 1800s. So I love this book. Clearly, I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. The only reason it didn't get 5 stars is because there were a couple chapters where we were more into the nursing school part of it and we were learning with her in the classroom, and I was kind of like, okay, can we get back to you investigating and things like that? But I still was into the writing. I loved it. So I am now on the hunt for more books like this because it just tickled me so much. It was the best book I read in the month of November. Spoiler alert. So yes, I highly recommend it if you are into historical fiction thriller books like myself and you like the Victorian era. I recommend it. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, next up we have a book that I read for Sab's book club, the Lights Out book club. So I will have a link in the description box to the live book club discussion. So we went into a lot of detail, so I'm not gonna go too deep, but I'm speaking of Secluded Cabin Sleep 6 by Lisa Unger. Now, this book was on my list of most anticipated books for 2022. I was really excited about this book because if you don't know, I loved Lisa Unger's novella, The Sleep Tight Motel. I had it in my Halloween book recommendations video, so I could not wait to read this book. And it was described as a locked room mystery thriller. I don't know when I'm gonna stop. I just don't know. But anyway, I fell for it again. In this book, we are following a young lady named Hannah. Now, she has a brother who owns this tech company, and it's like $1 billion tech company. And he decides to book a cabin for her and some of their friends to have a little vacation getaway. Now, this is the type of book where everybody shows up with secrets and lies and things they're hiding. And when they get there, the chef tells them some interesting history. It's a little disturbing about the motel and some things that went on around the property. And then a storm comes, of course, naturally. Power goes out and bodies begin to drop. So, once again, I was so intrigued by this story. In case you have not seen the live book club discussion, I was sorely disappointed by this book. What am I talking about? I forgot. It ended up in my worst books of 2022 video. If you haven't seen that, I will link it here. But yes, did not like this book at all. I guess I could start with some pros. I did like the setting of the isolated cabin in the woods. You know, I could feel the sense of what the environment was like, the weather and whatnot. Now, unfortunately, I don't feel like we spent enough time with the cabin, getting to know the cabin and feeling like you are really in there. It was just like when they first got there, we got a little bit of description of what it was like, and then we were into drama with the folks. This was a cast of characters where no one was likable, so I cared about no one. Yeah, unfortunately, that was a big part of the problem. It was like, I don't care who the killer is. I don't care who dies. You could kill them all for all I care. The only one I cared about was the baby. She was safely away from all this mess. So I was like, as long as nothing happened to that baby, I'm fine. And so, yeah, I didn't really care. I also described this as a rated R mystery thriller. Now, some of you read, you know, like the Karen Slaughters and the Gillian Flynn type of books. I do not. You know, I usually go with the Riley Sagers and the Ruth Ware, etc., etc. So this one had a lot of sex that I did not ask for, and I did not feel was necessary. Crassness just in general. Things that people were saying out their mouths, I just didn't like. We were following this pervert character whose POV, he was like spying on people in showers and stuff. I didn't like following him. I didn't see the point of following him. He was just gross to me. I just felt like the author put things in for shock value and also just to throw you off the scent of who the actual killer was. But to me, it was obvious who the person was. So when we got to the end, I was like, that was it. I spent time with these deplorable people to get to that. Okay. Because we're dealing with a rich family, of course, it had themes of privilege and the haves and the have-nots, which was a theme throughout a lot of the characters' lives. But I mean, I've read that before and it doesn't really get my goose. It has to really be done well, like in Knives Out, the first movie. We're not gonna talk about the second one. And of course, this one fell into the pitfall that I find with a lot of mystery thrillers, where when we got to the twists and turns, it just got so cheesy and over the top ridiculous, and things people were saying out their mouths just irked me. I just didn't like the dialogue. I didn't like much of it. So I gave this 0.5 stars. But because that's not a thing on Goodreads, I rounded it up to 1 star, I guess. But for you guys, you now know it's 0.5. Let's just move on because I don't even like talking about this book. Okay, then next up, I had a bright spot in my month. I did read my Berenstain Bears book. I don't think I've included this in my TBR. I think I just picked it up from my library. I was looking for something short and I wanted to read something to brighten my month. So I picked up the Berenstain Bears and the Prize Pumpkin. This one was cute. It was not one of my favorites. It was basically Papa Bear growing this pumpkin to participate in this Prize Pumpkin competition. And of course, there's a lesson that they learn at the end of the book. But as far as like fall, it gave me the fall vibes. I did like the illustrations with the pumpkins, and of course I just love Bear Country where they live. But other than that, I mean, it didn't really give me much else. I think because I read it in November and it was around Thanksgiving time, it just was like, it was fine. It just didn't really get my goose as much as I wanted to. So because it's a children's book, I don't rate them because, you know, I'm way out of the target age range. But I mean, like I said, it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, I would recommend it if you have children. It was cute, but like I said, not one of my favorites. And then unfortunately, the cozy mystery book that I talked about in my end of the year TBR video, I didn't get a chance to get to. So Apple Pie a la Murder will have to wait till this year, 2023. Hopefully I will get to it because I really wanted to. I just didn't get time, you know, holidays and whatnot. Not as much time as I thought I was gonna have. Then next up, I have a physical book that is here that I threw in because I had some time, but it ended up being a DNF. So let me get it for you. This is another book that was highly anticipated for me. It was on my anticipated book releases for 2022. And the premise was so interesting to me. And I'm so disappointed that this ended up being a DNF. But I'm speaking of Stay Awake by Megan Golding. Yeah, unfortunately, this did not work for me. In this book, we are dealing with a woman named Liv who wakes up in the back of a taxi with no memory of how she got there or anything. And if you don't know, I love an amnesia trope. Love it. But yeah, so she wakes up, like I said, has no idea where she is and how she got there, and she finds written on her arm the words "stay awake." So she gets out the taxi and she has to figure out what the hell is going on. She goes home. It's not her home, and she ends up seeing on the news that there was a murder, and written on the window are words where the handwriting looks similar to what's on her arm. So she has to figure out what happened, and is she a killer? What does she have to do with this killer? We don't know. So like I said, this premise was so intriguing to me, and it started off so well because we do start off exactly where you think, with her in the back of the taxi figuring out what's going on. When she goes home, I was just like on the edge of my seat, like, what is going on? You know, her apartment's not her apartment. Then we get flashbacks of what happened way before this. I guess they're setting up how she got to where she is, but unfortunately the flashbacks just didn't work for me. It was about her and her boyfriend, and then her job at the magazine company. I did not care. And then we also were getting a POV from a detective. I wasn't even really into their chapters, and you know I love detective mysteries. This just wasn't doing it for me. So I got to chapter 9, page 41. I still have my bookmark here, and I just was like, I'm not really into this, so I'm not going to force myself, because as we all know, life is too short to read books you don't enjoy. And I just wasn't into this. And so, yeah, I put it aside. And this also, unfortunately, came after The Nurse's Secret, and it was hard to follow that up because the struggle was real. I had such a book hangover after The Nurse's Secret. Like I said, nothing could scratch that itch. And this damn sure wasn't it. So like I said, I think I talked about this a little bit in my DNFs video, so you can check that out in case I said anything I didn't say here. But let's move on. All right, and in November, I've said this before too, but I usually try to keep an audiobook running in my car. It's just my thing now. I love listening to audiobooks instead of music, unless I'm just like in between audiobooks, and then I'm like, oh, guess I gotta find some music to listen to. So I did start off the month of November listening to book 5 in the Helldiver series. This one is Captives. I was a little leery of jumping into this one because I knew it was gonna be darker. This is the type of story where, you know, the threats are creatures and humans, and the humans to me are always worse. It's just like in The Walking Dead. The humans are worse than the zombies. So yeah, I was worried, but I was like, I'm gonna try it, and if it gets too bad, I will just stop. But so I was actually into it. I got to 16% chapter 6, and it just was like, I think this is too dark for November, and we put the Christmas tree up at the end of the month, and I just was like, I'm not in the mood for this now. So I put a pause on it, and I switched over to Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, I was like, I still want something cozy but dark. I was in that mood for this Christmas season. I don't know why. I watched a lot of Gremlins and Krampus. I don't even know. I was just in the mood for darker stuff this Christmas season, but I still wanted them to be cozy. So yeah, that's why I switched to Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I was into it. The audiobook was so good. It was narrated by Tim Curry and Alan Cummings, so I was intrigued. But unfortunately, this one fell flat for me. So in case you don't know, in the story of Dracula, we follow a man named Jonathan Harker, who is a solicitor who shows up to Dracula's castle to, I don't know, whatever solicitors do, appraise it or whatever. And so while he's there, you know, he is learning that there are some strange things going on in this castle. And 3 women show up in the middle of the night. He's not sure if he's dreaming or what. He thinks they try to bite his neck. And like I said, he's not sure if this is a hallucination. But Dracula ends up leaving him there and going off on a ship and whatnot. And this is where the book lost me, because we switched to the POV of the woman, the girlfriend of Jonathan Harker, and a friend of hers, and they were writing letters back and forth, and I just did not care about them. I wanted to go back to the castle with Jonathan Harker or go on the ship with Dracula. I didn't want to be with these women. And I gave it like 2 chapters of these women, or at least 1. And I was just like, I'm not going to force myself through this. Also, a little birdie told me, someone told me, we barely get Dracula in this book. So that was all I needed to hear. I was like, we're done. I'm done here. So I DNF'd this audiobook at 16%. I think it said I was at chapter 6, because I usually will keep track of how far I am with ebook along the way. But yeah, so I'm sorry to disappoint you Dracula lovers, but yeah, unfortunately this part just didn't work for me. Maybe I'll just go check out the movie. You could tell me which one you recommend if you do. Yeah, like I said, it lost me. It wasn't the writing I was into it. I just don't care about those women. And I wanted more Dracula or Jonathan Harker. The end. So because I was still looking for an audiobook, something I could listen to while I was trying to figure out what I was going to read for December and listen to, I went and looked online for like best audiobook, and I found out about a podcast called Upgrade Soul by Ezra Clayton Daniels. Now this one is narrated by Wendell Pierce, who I love, and Marsha Gay Harden. So I was intrigued. I listened to a little bit of a sample and I was like, okay, we could do this. It's also a graphic novel, which I'm intrigued to pick up because I saw some of the illustrations and I was like, I may have to check that out. But I will tell you a little bit of what it's about. This is a sci-fi novel, so it's a little bit difficult to remember everything. For their 45th anniversary, wealthy science buffs Hank and Molly Nonner decide to fund an experimental rejuvenation procedure with only one condition: that they be the first subjects. But Molly and Hank's procedure goes horribly wrong. Instead of becoming younger and healthier, they are left with severely disfigured, though intellectually and physically superior clones of themselves. And a psychological battle of moral fortitude begins. Now, when this podcast started, I was like, what is going on here? I'm a little confused, but it has all these sound effects and things. It reminds me like old radio programming they used to get back in the day where that was their only form of entertainment. Yeah, there's all kind of sound effects. So it kept me intrigued, and I am still along for the ride. It is a little weird at times and in places, but for some reason it's still holding my interest. I put a pause on it because I ended up finding an audiobook that did hold my attention in the month of December, which you'll find out about in a minute, but I am going to continue with it. But as of right now, I am on episode 4, and as I said, I'm still intrigued. If you know about this one, let me know in the comments, because I feel like I have not heard anybody else talk about this. So I didn't have a place to mark this on my Goodreads. There's nothing on there for podcasts that I know of, so definitely wanted to let you know that I'm still in the middle of that one. Now, let's move on to the month of December. All right, now in the month of December, I might as well just start off with what I didn't read. Because it was quite a bit. Now, I didn't get to say Secluded Cabin Sleep 6. I ended up reading that at the very end of November, and it bled into the beginning of December because our live show got pushed. So I was like, I got some more time, I'm gonna take my time. But yeah, so I did start a little bit later with my December reads, but I did not get to The Christmas Corpse by Mona Marple. That was another cozy mystery that I was really looking forward to. And like I said, unfortunately, I didn't get to it. I also did not get a chance to get to The House of Whispers by Laura Purcell, but I talked about this in my January TBR video. My library loan ended, the due date came up, and I could not renew it, so I had to return it. And like I said, I pushed it to January. Also, the next 3 books I have here, so let me put this down. Also, I did not get to my Berenstain Bears books. I kept looking at them in my basket and I meant to pick them up, but I actually saw that these had longer texts in them. Yeah, so these 2 I never did get a chance to get to, and that is the Berenstain Bears Christmas Tree and the Berenstain Bears Meet Santa Bear. So hopefully I will get to these next year. I definitely still have them on my list. I actually wanted to take these and read these to my nephew who lives in Arizona, but we were busy playing and things, and I also just didn't take them out the house. So like I said, hopefully I'll get to them next year. But what I did get to in the month of December and was my favorite read of the month, and this was actually in my TBR video, but I'm speaking of the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm a Harry Potter fan now. Who am I? My daughter's like, you're obsessed. A wee bit. I now get it. I get it. The funny thing is, I've had some interactions with the Harry Potter world. Of course, I've seen a couple of the movies. My mother went to London on a trip and she brought me back a Harry Potter mug, which I've had in many of my videos. And I got to take a trip to Warner Brothers Studios, and they had a part where you could put the sorting hat on and it tells you what house you belong in. I think I got Slytherin back then. I don't remember. But yeah, I've been to Universal Studios and have thoroughly enjoyed the Harry Potter part of the park. It's my favorite part there. But I just went through it. I had no idea what I was walking through. I was like, oh, this is cool. I didn't know I was in Diagon Alley, and I would have taken it in more. I probably would have wanted a wand and all of that. But yeah, so I'm a new fan. But anyway, I already talked about this in my TBR video, but I mean, I think most of you know by now the story of Harry Potter, a boy who is a wizard and goes to Hogwarts School of Wizardry. And what I did not know is that all of these books have mysteries in them, and you just get hooked into the mystery of what is going on. And Harry Potter is like a little detective. Nobody says that. That's basically what he is. Let me show you. This illustration is on the cover of the book, and I know you've seen this everywhere. The train that takes them to Hogwarts, as I said, oh, I love it. And my favorite character, I was surprised because, you know, of course I liked him in the movies, but I didn't realize how much I was gonna be attached to him from these books. But it's Hagrid. He holds a special place in my heart. I'm always like, don't nothing better happen to Hagrid. I swear for God. Don't nobody touch Hagrid. He's just a baby. But yeah, anyway, like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this. And I was also reading this for Kindle from Bookphoria's Harry Potter read-along that she did in the month of December. Now, she was reading a bunch of the books. I think she went through all of them. I'm not sure. I will link to her channel below. I already knew I was only going to get through one. It took me most of December. And I also did the immersion reading of this with the audiobook, which I highly recommend. I love the audiobook narrator. He does all of the Harry Potter books. He also did The Night Circus, which now I feel like I need to go listen to, because when I read The Night Circus, I physically read it, but now I want to listen to the audiobook with him because I'm such a fan now. This was so cozy. It gave me everything I wanted in the month of December, and I'm actually reading book 2 now, so you have to stay tuned for my January wrap-up to find out my thoughts on that. But yeah, I give this 4.5 stars. The only reason I gave it 4.5 stars is because the beginning was just taking a little bit for me. I don't like the Dursleys. I know we're not supposed to, but I just really did not want to be with them. And I was like, when are we getting to Hogwarts? When are we getting this thing going? So once we got away from them, I was happy. But it took too damn long for my liking. And it's funny because now I'm actually watching the first movie just so I can now see the difference between the movie and the book. And they moved along way faster in the movie than it moves along in this book, let me tell you. But anyway, like I said, I just love it. It's another illustration. I think I may actually have to get a secondhand copy of this because I just love it so much. So anyway, favorite book of December, yes. All right, now, unfortunately, we're gonna end on a bad note with a DNF, but before I got to my Harry Potter audiobook, because I had already started reading the book before I picked up the audiobook, I decided to listen to an audiobook that was more Christmas winter themed, and I had heard this audiobook was good, so I decided to give it a chance. This was also nominated for Best Mystery Thriller Books of 2022 in the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I'm speaking of The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. Now, you already know this was a DNF, so it did not work for me, but I will just tell you what it's about anyway. This is also in my tier ranking DNFs video, so again, you get some more of my thoughts there. But they have here for the description of the book, the rules. Listen carefully, do your research, trust no one, run for your life. Okay, in this one, we are following a woman named Harriet who is from London, but she is living in New York City with her beau, her fiance, Edward. And she has not yet met Edward's family, but of course he comes from a family of money. Once again, I don't know. Maybe these kind of stories just don't do it for me. This whole wealthy family business, I just don't care enough. But anywho, so yeah, she's gonna go meet his family. And I guess when she gets there, there's some game they decide to play. I don't know. I didn't get that far. I was not a fan of the audiobook. The audiobook narrator is British, and when she was doing American accents, it just didn't work for me. I could just hear her going so slow, trying to pronounce things correctly, and it was just bothering me. Even at a faster speed, I could still hear it. Also, the way she did Edward's voice, I just wasn't a fan of. But I still was pushing through because I was like, this is giving me the winter Christmassy vibes. It's New York City, winter time. But then I just got to a point where I was like, I don't care about this story. I don't care about this family. I don't care about this woman, the main character. I just didn't care. Clearly, I DNF'd it at chapter 4. I hadn't gotten to no game, no sense of dread, no sense of what's gonna happen. I got none of that. I just didn't care. So yeah, like I said, I stopped at chapter 4, and there you have it. But like I said, fortunately, after I DNF'd this, I did switch to my Harry Potter audiobook, and I was reading Harry Potter, and it finished off my year greatly. So we're ending the books with a DNF, but I finished off the year, like I said, on a high note. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, all the books I read in November and December of 2022. I'm sorry this was late, but better late than never, right? Yes. So feel free to let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books or DNF'd any of the books that I read. You can let everyone know in the comments what the best books were that you read in the month of December, how you finished off the year. You can let us all know. I'm always interested. I love to know what you guys are doing, what you're up to. And if you don't have a comment, but you also just want to show me some love, or you want to just let me know that you made it this far in the video, all of the above, you can leave me the lightning bolt emoji for Harry Potter, of course, because it was my favorite book that finished off the year. So there we go. And And as always, ways you can support my channel are always linked below. You can donate towards coffee, tea, ebooks, all that good stuff. Also on Ko-fi, I am more likely to respond to messages that people leave me because I get alerts. I don't have notifications on for Instagram. I just try to check it throughout the day. But anyway, all the books will be linked below as well. And I think that is all for this video, ladies and gentlemen. So until next time, snuggle up in your hideaway with a good book, unplug as much as possible, be kind to all kind, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.